ongoing blackouts have pushed the courts to adopt video link as the default mode for hearing cases. This comes after the ailing power utility Eskom implemented stage 6 load shedding last week until further notice. The Deputy Judge President, Roland Sutherland, said many things are not optimal in the Johannesburg courts, adding that they are at the mercy of the Chief Justice and the Department of Public Works. Let's bring in Thamsanqa Mchunu, who speaks on behalf of the Department of Public Works. Now, Thamsanqa, thank you for making time for us. Yesterday, the Gauteng Judge President told us that they are moving all matters online because of these persistent power cuts, but particularly because there are 2 generators and there's one that is faulty. As the Department of Public Works, have you provided reliable generators to all the courts?
Yes, we have. Specifically, at the Johannesburg High Court, there are 2 generators. One is an older one, and then another one is a new one. And they are both working perfectly well. So we have provided the generators to courts.
So the Judge President yesterday said there is one generator that works, but it only works for 2 hours. And when the 2 hours lapse, or maybe it doesn't work properly, then there's another one that's there as backup. But he says it's that other one, the backup generator, that doesn't function optimally. In fact, he told us that there are many calls that have been logged with the Department of Public Works. So are you suggesting that's not the case? No one has complained to you as the department about a faulty generator at the Johannesburg High Court?
All we know is that the generators at the Johannesburg High Court work. The older one works, yes, perfectly well for 2 hours. And when it goes out, the newish one is supposed to kick in. The issue with regards to specifically Clement this week on Thursday was that the generator or the generators ran out of fuel, and the client had not ordered fuel. The Department of Public Works was only told on Friday about the fuel ran out, and then the generator couldn't keep in when it was to take over from the other one. And so the generators that we at Johannesburg High Court, they work. Clement, we must also note that these generators, they are now working on extended shifts, really. They run for a long time. And so obviously they've got to be closely monitored in terms of fuel availability as well as their efficiency. And there is an issue that has been reported with the generator heating up. Obviously because, as we all know, as they are running for an extended period of time, they are going to get heated up and malfunction on occasion.
So what happens when the generator heats up and it malfunctions? What's the alternative plan? Because when you look at the levels of load shedding we are subjected to now, chances are many of these generators are going to be pushed beyond the limit. What happens when they heat up then and they're not efficient? What's the alternative plan?
Oh, well, the alternative plan that the department is now suggesting to clients is for them to come up with other alternatives. The alternative source has been solar. The solar panels to be bought and to be installed to back up the generators during times of load shedding. That is the option that is being investigated now with the department. But Clement, you must also realize that the Department of Public Works only work according to the instructions of the clients. our clients need to instruct us to procure and to install and to maintain. If our clients do not give us that instruction, our hands are tied, because obviously the budgets lie with the client department.
But you are aware of the generators that may not be efficient, especially when they're overheating, and you are saying there's an alternative plan that's needed. Why do you have to wait for an instruction when you can just, be more proactive and say, we have seen what happens in the courts when the generators heat up, and that often causes inconvenience on court processes, and therefore we'll start a process of installing these solar panels?
Clement, I've just said a minute ago that we are talking to our clients, not just justice only, but other client departments, to obviously it's a process. This extended and intensive load shedding only really kicked in last year, whereby you have now stages 6 and 4, and so we are saying, we are talking to our client department to now put aside the budget, because everything is money, Clement, to put aside budget whereby they give us that budget. I said to you, we as the Department of Public Works work with the departments clearly on their instructions, and our suggestions need to be taken aboard the department. They need to budget for those extras that we are suggesting, like solar panels, to boost and supplement the power supply during load shedding.
What are the contingency measures in the meantime, while those discussions are underway and a decision has been made on whether or not those solar panels are going to be installed? Is there a dedicated service provider to service the generators, knowing that they can malfunction?
The Department of Public Works is always on standby. We always carry out the tasks that have been given to us by client departments. What is really needed is for a conscientious and dedicated team in client departments to make sure that the generators especially have fuel supply, adequate fuel supply, because we as Department of Public Works are responsible for the installation, for the maintenance, and the refilling of fuel in the generators. But if we do not get put on standby to be made aware that the fuel is now running low, you need to bring it on board. But in fact, the client departments are the ones that buy fuel. We as Public Works are only responsible for the generator, the maintenance, the installation, and the fixing if they go offline or if they break down.
Yeah. So back on this generator in the South Gauteng, in the Gauteng High Court, will you be sending a team to check it out? Because the judge president seems to insist, speaking to us yesterday, that the problem wasn't necessarily fuel. It's that it was heating up, and then when it heats up, it malfunctions. Are you going to be sending a team to check that out, especially given this is one of the busiest courts?
Indeed. The teams are on site as I'm talking to you. They went there yesterday, and they went there today as well. They are doing their best to make sure that the generators are up and running first thing tomorrow morning.
Are there other public institutions or public service that's been interrupted that you are aware of? As the Public Works Department, being the department that helps with these generators, are you aware of other services that have been interrupted as a result?
What do you mean, Clement, by services? You mean the power supply service?
Yeah, power supply, where some of the services are interrupted because, as you said, the generators can function for 2 hours and then you've got backup. But because now we are on high levels of load shedding, most of these generators are overrun, and as a result, they heat up and then they malfunction. And as we have seen in the Johannesburg High Court, that interrupts court processes.
Clement, we are not aware in the institution and departments that we are servicing that has happened, like the Johannesburg High Court, whereby the generator packed up because of lack of fuel. But given the situation, it's not beyond reason to expect that obviously the power supply interruption does interrupt the services, but we are not aware currently.
All right. Department of Public Works spokesperson Thamsanqa Mchunu, thank you for making time for us.